My name is Twinomuhangi Benard, and I'm a born again, and I'm happy to be in the family and in the body of Christ.
Okay, now tell me how you came to be a born again. What were you before?
Before I came to know Jesus, I was born in a Catholic family, and in this Catholic family we were born 10 children, same dad, same mom, and we grew up believing, knowing what our parents were believing in. Our parents, surely they were staunch Catholics, not only staunch Catholics, but these people who never wanted to know about Jesus, about God, but what they knew only was they were Catholics. So we grew up in such family, and we had as children, so we believed and we followed what they were believing in. And to me, I thought I needed to follow exactly what they were following, even though I didn't know much about God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. But then we had to be under that. So that's how we grew up. We would not go to church, we would not go to where, we would at times stay home, raise cattle, and that's all we knew. Because for us, we knew that believing, in your parents' religion was enough. So God was on my side, and I had to continue. Of course, I went to primary as usual, as part of school. Then after primary school, I joined secondary school. And during my studies, I would feel like I needed to know more about God and Jesus, because I would hear people preaching gospel, I would hear people holding conferences, and I would be attracted to go at times, but then I had to remain with what we believed in, because we are Catholics, and I never wanted to disappoint my parents, and definitely I wanted to obey my parents as follow their faith. So soon after secondary school, so I came to join A-level. Of course, secondary, that was part of O-level. So when I joined A-level, I had a lot of friends and people who would come and tell me about Jesus, getting salvation. But then I could hardly believe, because we had our faith in Catholic, and I had my faith as in my parents. I didn't know that God existed, I didn't know that Jesus existed. But then for us, we knew it is all about Catholics. So when I was in A-level, people tried to come around, preach, and I would hear the word, and I would not believe, because I didn't know much about that. So I had to do A-level, irrespective of hardships that were there, so many challenges that I was facing. But then still I had to stick on my what I knew as the family, as my parents, what they believed in. So life went on. Sometimes I would face a lot of challenges, but then I would keep a deaf ear on hearing the word of God. A time came when I was to join the university, so it was a bit hard for me. Joining a university, there you need a lot of money, you need to rent, you need to cater for your food, and of which my parents could not raise. So in me, I had the sense that maybe I could make a shortcut and then maybe get some other levels of education, not necessarily university. So I opted to do, my option number one was to join an institution and do do teaching. In other words, I wanted to take education so that I can teach biology and chemistry. Maybe that was my option. But then another option was, because now I had passed and everything was fine, so I was qualifying to join the university. Now I had to sit with my father and my parents so that we can decide on that. So when I sat with my father, and then I was like, I want to join the university, but then there is no money. So my option would be maybe if I can join an institution and do education so that I can go and teach it would be the best option, because I was sure that there I could have finished. And I was hoping for maybe government scholarships on that, because it was easy to get. And maybe some other private people would wish to sponsor me on that, because it costed a little money and everyone was willing to pay for me. But then when I had a conversation with my father, when we talked about it, and he was like, no, you need to do what you feel like you like. But then remember, there is no money, everyone is struggling, we are many children, we need also to be looked after. My other siblings are also growing up, so they needed also money and care. So my father decided for me to join the university, and he had to sell part of the land that we had so that I can join. But remember, I was joining a medical course, and this medical course was going to take 5 years, and which was not easy, which was not simple, and I needed a lot of money. Now, for the first semester, I had to agree, of course, with my father what he was saying, and he took all he can so that I can join year 1. So this is 2011, way back. So in 2011, August, that's when I joined year 1 at the university. So things seemed to be easy when I was joining, but I didn't know that there was something that God had prepared for me. Maybe God wanted me to hear His word so that I can accept and believe. So I joined the university as usual. A lot of fun was there in first year, because remember, I had sold part of land, and so he was able to raise tuition for that very semester. Now time came, that semester, of course, we had to close the semester towards May, April there, 2012. And then we had to come back for the next semester. Not really, yes, we had to come for the second semester in Feb, that is 2012. So second semester wasn't easy for me. That's when I realized that indeed, without God, you cannot make it in life. However much you may try to manipulate, you may try to maybe look around, but then you cannot make it in life. So during that semester, which was second semester, I faced a lot of challenges, a lot of trouble. And you know, in that semester, as someone who had joined the medical course, of course, were allowed to go to the hospital for some practice on what we had studied in year 1, I mean in first semester. So a lot of challenges came to me, because during that semester I couldn't raise tuition. My father was unable now to raise tuition, because remember, during the first semester I had to sell off part of the land, and then second semester I could not have sold all the land because we had nowhere to go. And 2, we looked at all alternative sources of finance, and all we had was to maybe from agriculture, and of course, according to that, he was not able even to raise 1 M, and I wanted to I was required to pay 3.2 M, that is 3.2 millions as in Uganda. So during that semester I had to face a lot of struggles, and definitely as someone who was interested in education, I had to go and begin second semester. But then here comes, like at the university you're allowed to to join classes or have lessons if you have at least cleared some part of tuition. And tuition are always like organized in such a way that during the first 2 weeks you're supposed to pay this portion, second week this portion, third week this portion, until when the semester ends. So you find at the end of the semester you have to be having zero balance. So as someone who had no money this time around, I went to school. I remember I had to rent. Amidst renting, I had to get to food to eat. So it was indeed very hard for me. But then I believed, I was like, no, I can't make it. Let me go and just try my level best. You never know what God has for me. That's when I started believing that maybe at times I needed God. Though I had not accepted, though I had not believed, but then I started coming to realize that at least I needed to know God more than how I knew Him. So I joined second semester, and as usual, I did not pay my rent to this guy, the landlord, and I raised just part of the tuition, like as in the first week. So I was there at school for the first 2 weeks. Then after the third week, I couldn't join. I would not allow to join classes anymore because my money could not allow me to do so. So that's where I started my hardship from. So it was still, during that hardship, it was still time to be onward, like as in practice what you learned in first year. And a lot of things happened during that time. So there are so many things I could not, like, I didn't know. Like, you know, when you're new in this medical school, there are so many things that you come to know when you go to practice. So I want to practice, and a lot of things happened. Like when I was practicing, there is a challenge that I learned into, and then I ended up on PEP. This PEP is what we call post-exposure prophylaxis. Like as in, if you have come into contact with a certain person and you're not sure, or you're sure that this person has this kind of disease, then you're supposed to be on treatment because you want to prevent this disease from getting into your body. So that's when I had to take PEP because I landed on a patient who was sick of a certain condition, and then I was suspicious that maybe I could have attracted this condition. So I needed to be on post-exposure prophylaxis treatment so that I don't expose myself to this condition or to this disease. Now, this was my hardest time, and this was actually, there is a lot I learned from this challenge because when I started taking this PEP, you know, like, this is a kind of treatment that is so hard to, like, I don't know how to explain it because the moment you start on it, like, you may even run mad. People may think you don't know. Like, it was such a hard experience. Now see what happened when I took it for the first day, because I was supposed to take this post-exposure prophylaxis treatment for Saturdays. But then on the first day, a lot of things happened. I experienced a lot of, like, bad dreams at night. I didn't sleep the whole night. So I was like, yeah, I would dream about someone chasing me with a panga. You dream like someone, because in this case, I dreamt about two old men. They were very old and were sloping from a very high mountain. And one was in front of me, another one was at my back. So I was in the middle, just imagine. Two old men, like they were in 80s to be honest, like according to the dream, they were in 80s. So remember, this person is ahead of me and another one is behind me. But then these are the people. The one behind me is pulling me. The one in front of me is trying to guard me so that I don't fall, because we are like sloping down from a very high mountain. And at times I would feel like maybe I am going to just sleep over this old man that is in front of me. But then it happened for almost the whole night, dreaming about that. Then after that dream, immediately another one switches on, and then you see like someone is running after you with a panga. You're like in hell completely. That's when I came to realize that indeed I could not tolerate with this drug. So I took it for like first 2 days, and then I could not handle it anymore. So I had to like inform my fellow students, and I was like, no, I cannot take it anymore. And then they advised me that you have to do, because if you don't do it, then you're going to take it for the rest of your life. So I was so afraid, and I didn't know what to do. Life was not easy on my side. So what I decided was they had to take me to a cancer at the hospital, and then had to sit with this guy. So the guy was like, no, don't worry. So he tried to cancel me down so that I can be able to resume and continue with the treatment. But then all I had given up, because I felt like I'm tired of the treatment, and the treatment was not doing me well. So after getting this counseling, and the guy was like, it's okay, take it for Saturdays, because when you don't take it, then you're going to take it for the rest of your life. Then I was like, I had to come into my senses, and I had to continue. So I experienced that, and during that experience, I realized that during that experience, remember, I was alone. People would leave me in my room and go to work. So I would spend the whole day, whole night in my room. So they would go in the morning and come back probably like at 7, 8 p.m. in the evening. And that simply meant to me that at times there is that time that we need to be alone. And there's that time where we shall reach and then we are like, we are alone. You don't have anyone to help you. But then you're just there. It's you and your God only. Though this came into my mind, but I didn't know much about God. So God was on my side, and I was able to go through this kind of situation, and all went well, because after the 10th day, probably 7th day to 10th day, I started feeling okay, and now I had to continue and finish. So after finishing, definitely God was on my side and everything went on well. So I went on life. That was part of life, and that is what I meant on the first challenge. So I went on ahead, and now there comes the hardest thing, because the hardest thing was I was still at school. Remember, no school fees, no rent, no food, but I had to survive. So I would be in this house. Time came when I had completely no food, and I had not paid rent. And then I would hide from this landlord whenever he would come. I just hide and wait for him to leave the house so that I can get out. And then remember, I was not allowed to be in the class because I had not finished, I had not paid tuition. So that's when life became hard on me, and I thought otherwise. But then thinking otherwise, I was like, maybe I can leave school, I can go home. But then that was not an option, because still getting back home, it means you have not acquired what you exactly wanted or what you were supposed to achieve. So I had to stay in school in my room, even though I was not going to class. Now time came when I had completely no food for 4 days, and I felt like someone who was sick for over, I think, 20 years. So I felt I was like, very thirsty, very thin, and like someone who has never smoothened yourself with at least a gel. So I looked like dry. Then I was in my room for 4 days, no food, nothing. So now time came, and my heart told me that maybe it's not enough to sleep alone in the room and wait for anything, because you're going to die from this room. It's better to go and join others, because at the university we had what we used to call Mothers Union. And that Mothers Union, it's where students would gather, watch football, maybe films, so that they can have fun. It was it was room where I would rest from. So my heart told me, was like, no, you can go and join others in the hall. And I had to get up, even though I was too weak. So I dressed up and I walked to the hall. So as I was coming to this hall, remember, I was feeling dizzy as someone who has not eaten for 4 days. I was looking like as if someone who has been sick for more years, and I had to come. So when I was coming, I remember this hall there was a canteen which was opposite to this hall. And this canteen, this is where a woman was cooking, actually. In this canteen, there was a woman who was cooking for students at the university. So he would offer them meals, maybe breakfast, lunch, and supper for those who have paid. So I came into this hall as I was coming. Then this hall had steps. So I tried to climb steps so that I can reach up into this room, and finally I fell off the steps. And all of a sudden I was down, and I couldn't help myself get up. So this woman was at her canteen watching from a distance, and she saw me falling down, and she was surprised to see what was happening, because I came walking while she was seeing me, but then when I was falling, she was there watching. And this woman came, reached me, and she picked me up. She took me to her canteen and asked me all that had happened. She started asking me whether I'm sick, but truthfully I was not sick, because I was okay. But it was all about, I had spent many days minus eating, as you know, because when you don't eat, you know what happens. At times people may think you're sick, but then you're not. So this woman sat me down, and she started asking me. Life was too hard, sincerely speaking, because when you look at that, 4 days minus eating, and then you're in the room closing yourself, you're hiding off from a lot of things, you're not attending classes. So truthfully, you see there's a lot of change that happens on your life, and at times negatively you think about a lot. So we had to sit down with this lady. She started asking me questions. And the first question was, are you sick? Then I was like, no. And then she was like, but you look like someone who has been sick and you have not actually gone to the hospital for treatment. I was like, the truth is, I am not sick. I'm feeling okay. And then this woman had, remember, after serving some of the students for this lunch, she had remained with a bit little food. So she had to get me food. That was rice, I remember very well, rice and beans. So I ate. And the portion she gave seemed to be very small for me. But then it was like, this is the only food I had gotten after 4 days. So I had to eat, and at least I felt like I'm now somehow okay. Now this lady asked much more about me. So like where I'm coming from, where I'm sleeping. So I had to disclose information about where I'm staying. Now this lady comforted me and was like, don't worry, you can go and rest. And when you rest, when I get back home, I will tell my husband to come and we shall come and see you. So I came to realize that this was pastor's wife, and the pastor who was ministering in a certain